Good morning. My name is Angie Becerra, and I'll be walking you through some of the most pressing challenges we face when it comes to integration security into agile requirements engineering, and more importantly, why these challenges matter to us as future developers. So, as we know, Agile is amazing for fast-paced development. It helps teams move quickly, adapt to feedback, and release often. But there's a little bit of a catch. Its strength can also be the biggest weakness because Agile focuses on flexibility, security is often pushed aside, and there's little documentation and security requirements usually are in part of the initial user stories, and that leave us exposed. In fact, many of the most expensive and damages branches don't happen because of bad code. They usually happen because nobody defined what secure even meant in the first place. So let's go ahead and break down um the agile teams. So you almost never see a decided security role. Security requirements are not usually part of user stories, and communication about risks, especially early on, is often minimal. So this will create like a situation where the team is building features fast, but at the same time is building potential threats until it's too late. Now, although that seems a little bit scary, there is good news. And one of the most effective ways to that there are teams like trying to solve them is that they have something called Scrum, a secure Scrum. So basically you create a backlog just for security and you write abuser stories that looks at things from a hacker's point of view. And another tactic is adding security acceptance criteria directly into each story. So it's baked into the definition of like done. And teams also rotate security hats. So um, during sprints, usually someone is always keeping like the perspective in mind, and lightweight threats modeling, just taking a moment during planning to ask kind of like how could this be exploited, and can uncover a lot before any code is written. So I won't pretend this is easy. It takes a lot of time, and it means learning new tools and adjustments how it works. And some team members might resist that shift at first, but the long-term benefits are huge. As we can see here, fixing security issues early costs dramatically less, up to 30 times less, according to some studies. And you also avoid compliance issues, you build a more reliable systems, and protect users in ways that actually build trust in your project and the product. So in some big companies, when there's a software validation, being able to have these tactics in the software validation most of the time are included there. And if you already implement this in the current code or projects that you're working on, the validation of that software could be implemented even faster in big corporations. Um, the part that really struck me was that over 90% of companies use Agile, but in reality, only 10% integrate security from the beginning. And that gap is massive, and it's why so many systems fail in predictable ways. For example, the ISACA journal highlights how common breaches causes like a lack of encryptation of access control often traces back to vague or missing requirements. And that's not technical error, it's more like a planning failure. And that's where we as an engineers, we can do better. Um, so everything in a context, I think that we can imagine about how much software we use every day, like banking apps, healthcare platforms, school systems, And if those systems aren't built with security in mind from the very beginning, we're not just risking bugs, we are risking like people's data, trust, and even safety. So this topic made me realize something, which is security isn't just for specialists, it's for everyone in the field of engineering, especially in software engineering and validation, as well as quality. And as someone who is studying to be a software engineer and planning to work in the tech industry, which fortunately I currently do, and that's when I realized the lack of security that the company that I work for kind of had, and I started implementing a little bit more of these task tactics within the software that they have. But anyway, so as I mentioned, like for me, it's now clear to, that writing secure code starts way before the code even is planned. And it starts when we define what we're building. And basically, just to kind of wrap up everything, Agile doesn't have to choose between speed and safety. When security is built into the process from planning to release, it becomes part of the team culture. Just like we check bugs, we can check threats. Just like we fix errors, we can also fix risk. And the earlier we take ownership of that, the better the software and the stronger the trust we build with our users is going to be. So thank you so much and have a great day.